Hey, welcome everybody. Phil Harris over there in the middle, Ryan Clark, Coach Ryan Clark of Gadsden State. Phil, I think if you watch this station long enough, you'd understand mine and your favorite sports might be football and girls softball. I mean, are we giving it away that bad?
Well, girls softball, and I'd say some girls basketball too. I enjoy both of those because, I just enjoy the passion of watching the girls play. They kind of wear their feelings on their sleeves, and it makes girls basketball and girls softball so entertaining to watch.
Absolutely. In the middle from Gadsden State, Coach Ryan Clark. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm great. How are you guys?
I'm good, Coach. I got one question about your former career, and then we'll move on to this one. Have you missed football this fall any?
To be honest with you, I've actually enjoyed sitting at the house on Friday afternoons and spending some time with family. And Saturdays we're taking up with film, and I've had my Saturdays free. Sundays the same way. So we don't work out till 7:30 at night on Sundays. So I'm home all Sunday as well. So really adding those 3 days back into family time has been huge. Now, do I miss Friday nights? Absolutely. I miss the hard work that goes in, just like any other sport, and then seeing all that come to life on Friday night. So I miss parts of it, and then parts of it I think I've made the right choice at the right time for where I'm at in my life right now.
Well, you probably miss game time. You probably don't miss Sunday coach session with Tyler Van.
Well, actually, I do miss the Sundays with Van and Wilson and and those guys, and I really think they're doing a good job down at Scottsboro. I keep up with them, even though I'm at home Friday nights. With having family time, I'd be lying if I said the NFHS wasn't up on the TV and we were watching Scottsboro football. And all those guys that ended up going down there, Lee and Carp and all those guys. I miss Sundays with them. It was always fun and challenging to say the least. I miss that part. I do not. The biggest thing I do not miss about football are Monday and Tuesday practices. And it's just like the players, I'm sure, when they get done playing, they say the same things, but I don't miss those Mondays and Tuesdays. So,
we talked a little bit about your past career and the journey that took you to Gadsden State. And we'll get into this year's team, but we talked about your passion for softball and how you had started in the JUCO ranks. It was kind of a journey from assistant, then a high school head coach, and then back to college to become a head coach. I think softball has kind of been your calling all along.
It has, and that's what I've always told people. Even when I was coaching high school baseball, I was always telling people, if I can ever get back to softball, that's where I'm going. And it took me 6 years, but I eventually got back to it. And a lot of people will ask you, do you ever regret that? And not one bit. Not one bit. Softball to me, I enjoy the pace of the game a lot better. And when you're coaching female athletes, when they gain your trust, they'll run through a brick wall for you.
Absolutely.
And, that's to me that's what makes it a little bit better than baseball. And my gosh, I can't sit and watch baseball games anymore. When I was playing it growing up, I loved watching it. Now it seems like 5-6 hours for a baseball game to end. We played double headers in high school when I was coaching in high school, and the baseball team would be playing close nearby, and we'd play a double header, and they were in the 6th inning of the first game. So that part has really drew me to softball, and it's just fun. It's fun seeing those female athletes compete.
And the one thing about it, the nature of the game over the last few years, when the popularity of softball began to rise, it felt like it was all about the dominant pitcher. Bunch of 1-0 games, bunch of 2-1 games. And now you flip on the TV, you might see 7-8. You might see 4-5. It's really evolved as a sport where the hitting has caught up with a lot of the pitching.
It has. You still have your power pitchers. But you see it every day, and that's something that we try to train our girls here at Gadsden as well. You see the hitters starting to catch up to the pitching, because they're getting trained that way every day, and it's not uncommon now to see pitchers mid-60s anymore. So when it starts becoming more common in the circle, I think it becomes more common at the plate that people start catching up to it and making good ball games. Now you still have pitchers that overpower people, by a long shot, but they're not as many as they were a few years ago.
Phil, come to you after this question. I want to ask you one question about your facility. You have put, and I read this, I think I read this right. Gadsden State has put $10 million into your facility. Where do we stand with it, and how much more do we have to do?
So we're between 10 and 11 million. The complete date is supposed to be in the middle of March of 2025. So we may play a few home games on the field now that we're practicing on this Gadsden City's field. The city of Gadsden's field. So we may play a few games there, and then should hopefully transition to hours for the majority of our conference games onto our new stadium. And it should be, right now, they've got the footers poured for all of the buildings and walls and everything that's going up, on the facilities of baseball and softball combined. So they've got the footers poured. Next process is buildings start going up. So I think they're right on track to where they want to be at. Selfishly, I want them to get ahead of track, but I think right now they're right on track to what they expected to be, and we should be on those fields by the middle of March at the very latest.
It's so similar what's happening at Northeast and your facility, that these two, world-class facilities are being built at the same time.
For sure. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's a great thing that's happening in the northeast corner of Alabama with us and Northeast coming back. A lot of good talent up this way, but we're really excited that all the facilities that they're getting upgrades. And I know Wallace is doing some updates, and Shelton State, I believe, is doing some updates. So, everybody is really trying to step up the game as the junior college level.
Bill, you want to fire Coach Clark a couple of questions? And
Yeah, I want to go back, Coach, when you was talking about pitching, hitting. But, also on the defensive side, you've got to be much more fundamental defensively, because used to, if a young lady made contact, you often had errors in the field. Now you've got to be much better defensively, because hitters are going to make contact now.
They are. You do. You have to be solid on defense. Like I was saying earlier, you don't have a lot of times you don't have that pitcher now that's going to go get 20 or 18 of the 21 outs for you. You're going to have to make defensive plays, so you're going to have to be solid on defense.
Yeah, because more often than I see now, and statistically, it's about one strikeout per inning now, where it used to be a lot of times 2 per inning.
Yeah, if you get 1 to 1.5 strikeouts a game, the pitcher's had a pretty good game, and you're expecting your defense to take the rest of those outs.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you this. Of course, how did you get the Gadsden State softball job? Did you have an inside track, or was you impressive in the interview? How did you get that job?
Well, I think there was a lot of things that probably poured into it. We were actually playing. I had taken my high school team to Jacksonville. We were playing a summer. They have a summer camp, they call it, and you play other high school teams. And this was in June, and I was actually talking to Coach McGinnis, and she said, "You just need to just throw your name in there." She said, "You never know." And so I threw my name in, and they called me for an interview. And, I think I came to the interview very prepared. And I give a lot of credit to that of people that I've coached under, or, when I was just a student under Coach Grinrod and Coach McGinnis at Jacksonville State, and just kind of watching how they were doing things. I knew kind of how I wanted to model our program, and some things I took from those programs, and kind of made them my own, put my own twist on it, and kind of took that with me to the interview.
Yeah, so I guess being the interview process is probably what helped you get the job. Of course, I talk about a little bit about Coach McGinnis. She just retired at Jacksonville State. She inspired so many people.
Oh, she was a great coach, but she's an even better person. And I'd tell anybody in the world that she did a lot of great things on the field, but at the same time, that she was the same person on as she was off. She was just a great person to those athletes, and I think anybody that ever was a part of that program, even from a manager all the way up to an ace pitcher, would tell you the same thing. She was just a great person, even with her coaching. She still to this day, not too long ago, she checked in on me just to see how things were going. And that means a lot, and I think she does that with a lot of people that have been in her program.
Yeah, definitely. So, and of course, I'm sure you ask her advice. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people you ask advice for. I mean, a new coach coming into a program kind of knows where he's going, but you're starting a program from scratch. I'm sure you have to ask for a lot of advice.
Oh, there's no doubt. So I've had a lot of phone conversations with Coach McGinnis, and I've had a lot of phone conversations with Coach Guthrie up at Northeast. He's been a great help to me, and we talk probably in the summertime. We probably at least talked every other day at some point in time. And because we were kind of in the same boat. We were starting at the same time and kind of doing same things the same way as far as we're getting a stadium, they're getting a stadium. We're recruiting the same classes, and So I called him a lot of times, and we would talk. And then there's other coaches in this conference or in the Division II conference who have been great to us as well, and helped us out in that way. And then also Coach Russo, my assistant coach, he's been great. He started 2 programs himself, so he's kind of got a pretty good insight as well on some things that need to happen, and some things that maybe I don't think of or somebody else may not think of. He may can have an idea of something we need to do.
Well, I'm going to ask you one more thing, and then I'll go back to Randy. You start a new program, and you've got young ladies coming in. Of course, you've got practice time to deal with. You've got to get them adjusted to school. But the thing is, a lot of times you're ahead of the game a little bit because you kind of know evaluation wise where these young ladies stand. But you're having to run and learn that too. And not only are you having to teach them fundamentally and get them adjusted to the college lifestyle.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And a lot of times, and that's what I've told, several people, I'm excited about starting out at this stage because everybody is on the same level playing field, but I have no returners to say, okay, I know when we get in a game, this player can do this or this player can do that. But we did spend a lot of time out in the springtime because we didn't have a schedule. So we spent a lot of time out in the spring getting to watch these athletes and kind of see what we were getting in. And we really wanted to see the good, the bad, the ugly, and kind of get an idea before they ever got here to try to give us an advantage there or a head start, I guess you could say, on some of their development.
Go ahead, Randy.
Coach, first time we had you on the show, we had to be really careful because we were in a period where you really didn't have athletes yet, but you had athletes and you began practicing, but you were kind of limited in your what you could say. So break down some of the players that you have and, and just who we should be looking for this spring and fall seasons that will be leading your team.
So I don't want to name too many players because I'm going to leave somebody out and female athletes. We talk about how fun it is to coach them. They also get their feelings hurt. So, I will say we were very blessed, and when the season ended, we had a pitcher that wanted to move back home from Northwest Florida. So we've got a transfer in her, Sydney Simpson. She's going to be really good for us. We're excited that she's here. And then we've got several that have come in that freshman class that were really, really good in high school level. And then they're starting to adjust to the college level as well and kind of catch up to the speed of the game and seeing, 61 plus every day of practice. They're starting to see that, hey, we're not going to go out and face these pitchers that are throwing 55 and I can hit it 150, yards, over the fence. But, so we've got some good hitters, Abby Payne and Ava Ramsey and Madison Allen and Allie Croy. They all come to us as freshmen, and they're right now they're producing very well at the plate, swinging the bat very well. And then we've got several others that are going to be big key parts in what we do offensively. Not everybody has to hit the ball over the fence. We've got a lot of players that are going gap to gap and can run a little bit. And so we're excited about the offensive side of things. So
that first class you signed, they seem special to me because they had to be a little bit of a visionary to see the dream and the goal of what Gadsden State would be a year from now.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And that's a big thing too. Is we are really excited about this group because, like you said, they kind of came in here straight off of trust. Several of those girls that we got to come in here had other offers or had other coaches talking to them, and they chose Gadsden because kind of the vision that I had set for this program. They kind of believed in it, and now it's their vision too, and they're working hard to get there. And so you're right though. They had to just had a great imagination, I guess, and just trust the process and see what we were seeing.
What is your housing facilities like right now? Are you using off campus to supplement and get by for kids outside the driving area?
We actually have a dorm on campus. We have a co-ed dorm. It's got 110 rooms in it. And right now, you get allotted so many, I guess you try to get so many. I don't know if you're allotted, but you try to get so many for your athletes. And right now, everybody that needed a dorm has a dorm for us. But that dorm situation kind of is first come, first serve. And there's plenty of places that you could live outside. We have a couple that opted out. They live in an apartment, and then we've got a couple more that have moved pretty much up here and maybe have a camper or something nearby at a campsite. So we've got a big portion of anybody that needed a dorm has got that dorm.
And at the JUCO level, that is I went to Chattanooga State or Cleveland State for a small period, and housing and on-campus housing was a major problem for them because everybody had to be off campus and everybody had to be in apartments. So that's a huge advantage for you and the other programs.
Oh, for sure. For having our athletes on campus, I think we're at about 50%. This first group is a large portion of local athletes. So we're about 50% of our roster. I think 16 of them are in the dorms. So, we're 50-50 there. And that's been a huge advantage just having them here anytime that we need to reach out to them or we have a meeting or, hey, y'all come to the field and set this up real quick. We have some people on campus already.
Coach, this may be the strangest question you ever get in an interview, but it's definitely one I've thought about, especially in your situation. What could you bring from being a defensive coordinator of football to the softball dugout?
Well, they may not like the aggressiveness that I bring from football, but they're getting used to it. I think the defensive side of me, really, I love the defensive side of softball. It's the same stuff. You're scheming. You're having to say, okay, well, this player likes to pull the ball, so I need to do this defensively. This player, struggles with this pitch, so we need to pitch this, so we can get a weak ground ball here. So to me, that kind of correlates defensive football with defensive side of softball. It's a lot of strategy and a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of Friday nights you go to a game and somebody lines up in something you've never seen before and you got to adjust on the fly. And it's the same way in softball. You may get to a game and you see a certain hitter doing a certain thing that you've never seen them do. You just got to adjust on the fly, So I think being able to do that and really focus on the defensive side of the ball is really helped.
In your defensive area of softball, we talked about just in passing the last interview about behind the plate, how critical it was. Have you made any decisions behind there, or it almost has to be playing 3-game series? You have to have more than one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right now we're running 4 catchers back there, and really 3.5. One splits time with outfield. She's good in both places, and another one splits time at third base. So as of right now, when we go to Cleveland tomorrow, Lainey Williams is going to get the first game. She's from Cherokee County. Really good player behind the plate. Really live arm. Strong athlete. So, behind the plate is to me is as important as any place on that field, because she's the one that sees all of it, and she'll probably get the nod for game one tomorrow. And then we're in the fall, we rotate everybody, so we're getting a lot of playing time, a lot of people, different reps, different looks. So, for right now, that's probably the direction we're going in game one.
So, Coach, you open up at Cleveland State. But to me, one of the more interesting things you're going to do this fall, a week from opening day, is you're going to be in Scottsboro to play North. How is that getting into those communities, playing on their local fields, help you and Northeast recruit that territory by playing there?
Well, I think when Coach Guthrie and I both talked about, setting that game up, we just needed some games because it was kind of tough for us, probably picking up some games that we would rather go play than a conference game. However, I think being up in that community and playing home games here as well is going to help, athletes see, hey, there's two teams here that are, the closest team before was Snead State, and then you had, I guess Calhoun probably would have been the second to anybody in the northeast corner of the state. So now there's two more teams, and you get to see a lot of young athletes probably come out to that game and see that there's two good programs that's going to be right here in their backyard.
Absolutely. Phil, I'll come to you after this question. I'm going to head to the recruiting area just for a minute, not particular people, but that footprint. And we talked about how important it was to maybe spread out from Gadsden to get into East Tennessee and North Georgia. What priority do you have in expanding your recruiting base? And, there's a ton of softball talent in South Alabama, South Georgia, and that's just maybe inside your reach a little bit.
So we actually have worked camps from anywhere from Louisiana to South Georgia, and up in Tennessee and in North Georgia. So we're reaching out in all those places and seeing what's available to us. And, so a lot of times you get the athlete that just don't want to be that far away from home. And sometimes you got the athlete that does want to be that far away from home. So, and a lot of people, when they're recruiting, they look at that and they shy away from it. I don't care. I'll ask you anyway. If I think you're good enough, I'll just see if you want to come up here, and so I'm not afraid to do that. And we have broadened our recruiting out, especially for when we're starting the 25 and 26 classes, but we've kind of broadened that out.
Well, Phil, famously, I know you remember this, Tommy Freight Train Taylor back in the early 80s, I actually got to talk to once, who left the state of Tennessee and went to UCLA. And his edict was he wanted to go someplace different than where he'd been. That can happen for softball too. Maybe a kid grew up in South Alabama, wants to experience maybe North Alabama, or a kid grew up in Metro Atlanta that wants to experience a smaller city. It can happen. Phil, go ahead. Start from there.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you this, and many people, we talk about recruiting, we talk about signing these young ladies. Okay, in the scholarship process, how does that work? Do you get some athletic money and some academic money? How does this work for the student athlete?
So at the junior college level, we go all or nothing, and you can offer a portion. Some people do, and you can. But here at Gadsden, you don't stack those, so it's all or nothing. And then anybody that's deemed a walk on can also get some academic money. They can get scholarships that way, and we've got several who. Just because they're walk-on doesn't mean they're not going to play. We've got some walk-ons on paper who are going to be on the field for us, and they've had a really good fall camp, and they end up in just as good of a situation as somebody that pulls a scholarship from softball. And that's a good thing I think about junior college is you get the 24 already, and then so anybody you add after that, well, if they're academic, that's just a bonus.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, and that's good to know because, us on the outside don't really think about those things, but I think it's good to know those kind of things to kind of know how, the recruiting process works.
Right.
Well, Coach, what I like about Gadsden State, Northeast both having, bringing in their programs, this is going to give especially local ladies an opportunity to play softball that may not have ever had that option. And I think a lot of these young ladies will kind of sit back and go, am I going to go in the medical field? Am I going to be a teacher? There's not a lot of options there, but now they're going to go to the college level and they're going to broaden their horizon. Goals may change. They may want to go into coaching. They may want to go into sports medicine. I think it's going to broaden their horizon because they're going to be around a lot of student athletes who are goal oriented also. And I think this is great for our local athletes.
Yeah, and I think you're right. There's a lot of athletes up in this northeast corner that just kind of didn't get recruited very well, and I think that like I was saying earlier, there's only one other team in Northeast Alabama, and that was Snead, and he could only have a certain amount on his roster, and then anybody left after that, there was nothing, and he did a really good job of building his rosters over the years, and had some really good players. And then, there's 4 or 5 players that's in Northeast Alabama that just get forgotten because there's nowhere close that actually sees them play. And, they get in front of them and go to camps and without having to drive 3 or 4 hours to a camp. So I think you're right. And the Northeast portion of Alabama has been really strong in softball. You go all the way back to Holly Curry at Pisgah. That's kind of what started the Northeast Alabama being a powerhouse. And, Pisgah ended up being a powerhouse for a very long time. Then you had Hillary Wigley up at Otter, and so you've had those 2 main players that came out of Jackson and DeKalb County back in the early 2000s, and that kind of made that portion start growing. And you've had some really good teams down here in the Etowah and Calhoun County areas as well that have put players at the big Division I level and have had a lot of success as well. So, to say that this corner was getting overlooked, maybe a little bit, but not to a big extent. Everybody knows this is a very popular place for softball is Northeast Alabama. But you're right, as far as these girls that are local now have somewhere to say, okay, I could live at home and go play softball at a Gadsden or at a Northeast, where before there's no way they could have lived at home and done that.
Yeah, I think you're right. And how people that are out in the country, they've grown up in their little communities forever, and they probably don't want to go to the big city. They don't want to travel way far away from home. And then also, if they play at the college level, their family can come watch them play. They're within driving distance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's one thing we sell. If you're local and you get to come here and your family is going to get to watch you play. If you're 4 hours, 5 hours away, they may not get to watch you play as much other than live stream on the computer.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I want to ask you about this, and Coach Guthrie talks about this. 4-year level college teams now, you've got so many things involved. You've got the transfer portal. You've got NIL now. Not only does that affect football, but it affects all the way around. And a lot of programs at the higher level are being kind of sort of where the players kind of dictate what goes on. Well, Coach Guthrie's like in the junior college level, and I'm sure you are going to talk about this too, is that at the junior college level, you're able to bring kids in and develop young ladies to prepare them for the 4-year institutions. And I think, as being a coach, you're going to be a whole lot more involved with these kids at the junior college level.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think the NIL and the transfer portal has really helped us at the junior college level. Because now you'll look at these bigger rosters and you're looking at juniors and seniors only on those rosters, and they'll have a few sophomores sprinkled in. You don't see as many freshmen. There's still colleges that are going to go out and reach out to those freshmen and take the freshmen, but you got to be somebody really special. So what they're looking at is, maybe they're missing out on one portion of the game. And, I think that's really what junior college is for, and it should be for, is the development to get you ready in that other aspect that you weren't ready for before and move you on to that 4-year level.
Yeah, sometimes that's even in academics they have a
Oh yeah,
struggle with that they need, because you can get into junior college where a 4-year school is going to turn you away if the academics are going to be there because they don't think you're going to stay.
right.
That's just kind of a stereotype, but but we've seen it in the past. Well, Coach, I'll go back to Randy after this question. The next level. Okay, you're at the junior college level. Do you have a lot of contacts, and I'm sure you're going to develop this more often as your experience comes in at the junior college level. A lot of these girls may want to go to that next level, and that's important for these young ladies when you bring them in.
Oh yeah, and that's something we ask in the recruiting process. Do you want to continue playing? Because that kind of sets up the way we want your time here at Gadsden to be. That we want for you to be ready to go to that next level, or do you want to? Are you trying to get a 2-year degree and you're going to graduate here? Either way, we're trying to make you a better player. And then yes, we do have several contacts at the next level. Just working camps and everything else, you build relationships with all these coaches at the, Division I, Division II level that you can move your players on to.
Go ahead, Randy.
Coach, I was going to make a comment earlier about your walk-on program. Phil and I would have never qualified for that academic scholarship, so it would have been athletic or nothing for some of us. But a good question from Howie Cheney, we both know. Speaking of walk-on, what does it take, and how does somebody that wants to try to walk on follow the process?
So if they wanted to come here and let's just say we're full up on scholarships, which right now we are because we are trying to pack in, 2 years into one season, because what we had to do was we had to, over recruit the first class, and now we've got to try to get 25s in as well. So if that athlete wanted to come here and realize, hey, I've got high academics and I think I could go walk on, then what we do then is we go through a tryout process and, kind of see where you stand and see where we stand. And, if we just let everybody that wanted to come here come in, we'd have 70 on this roster instead of 30, and that's what we try to tell our girls now. There's a lot of people wanting to come here right now. There's a lot of people want to be here at Gadsden State because they see what kind of program we're going to try to build, and they see the things that we're trying to do. So, we still go through a tryout process for our walk-ons. And that's why I was saying earlier, we've got walk-ons that are going to be on the field for us, and because if you try out and you're good enough, then if that walk-on spot's available, then that's what we're going to offer you.
Is there, and this is the last question about this, is there a restriction to, like at the 4-year level, there are certain things you cannot do for a walk-on? Is that the same at the junior college level?
Yeah, don't get me started about that. It's some weird things and signing day rules and just some off the wall things that we can't do for our walk-ons. But once they get into our program, they're just like everybody else. Okay. Once they're here and they're enrolled in this college and they're on our roster, they're just like anybody else. It don't say, scholarship or walk-on beside their name. It just says their name and what class they're in. So they're on the same level as everybody else at that point.
I just went through this with a dear friend whose son was a preferred walk-on. Well, he had an option to be a preferred walk-on for football or take a full ride in soccer. And it came down to, and this is no offense to Gadsden State or JUCO, this was 4-year schools. Just some of the craziness that you had to go through to be a preferred walk-on versus it was much easier for him to go the soccer route. So we need to empower our kids today. That's my 2 cents, not coaches.
Right.
Coach, at the JUCO level, is the circle or the batter's box more important?
Depends on who you ask. Like I was saying earlier, I'm more of a defensive-minded person, and Coach Russo, that's my main assistant. He's an offensive guy, and we would probably have 2 different answers. But still, to this day, like we were talking about earlier, there's not as many. But if you do have that one arm that's just overpowering to everybody, it makes it at least an equalizer, and I think it's important on both sides because if you can't score, it doesn't matter how good your pitcher is. So I go mixed on that, but I still lean a little bit towards the circle than I do the batter's box.
Coach, let's talk about your conference and the fact it's going to be y'all are going to have some pretty substantial road trips at times.
Yeah, we've got the furthest one for us is Coastal South, and that's in Bay Minette. That's a pretty good trip for us. However, they're having to make that trip 8 times in or 6 times in North Alabama, but that is a pretty far trip. And then Northwest Shoals is not an easy trip. It goes all the way across the state. But for us, we're located in a pretty good spot. We're an hour and a half from Calhoun. We're 30 minutes from Sneed. We're 50 from Northeast, and hour and a half from Southern Union. We're not in a very bad spot right here, and we got Shelton that's an hour and a half. So for us, how we're located is really not a bad deal for us.
This fall, will you play 4-year schools, or are you limiting it to 2-year schools?
This fall, we are playing some 4 years. We've picked up Jacksonville State. We're playing Samford. We've picked up Bryan College up in Tennessee, and then we've picked up Talladega and Oakwood as well. So
I grew up across the street from Bryan College.
Yeah. So we'll be up there sometime in October. Oh, we also have Shorter and Faulkner on there as well. I don't know. Those slipped my mind, but yeah, we're going to be up in Tennessee and Georgia and all over the state for this fall.
Will you take and I know a lot of JUCO baseball and some of the smaller 4 years at least takes one road trip a year, maybe into Florida, picks up a week of playing around there. As you develop this to get more games, is that something on your agenda possibly?
For sure. So we've got a lot of conference games this year. I think it's 32 conference games, and so what we were left with was 28. And when you're a new program, everybody wants to play, so we got a lot of phone calls. So I think in the future, what we would like to do is take a Mississippi weekend and go over there and play a couple teams in Mississippi because they got really good softball in Mississippi. And I would like to take a Florida trip as well. The Panhandle is a very solid junior college conference down there in that Panhandle. They've got some really, really good teams that are nationally ranked every year. So in the future, I believe that it's not too far of a reach to say that we're going to take a couple trips to Mississippi a year, or maybe that one to Florida and one to Mississippi, and continue to do so.
Coach Clark, a familiar name. Well, first of all, Travis Stankel's kind of dropped in, but another familiar name said, and I'll let you read this for yourself, if they won't win state in the first year, then they need to reevaluate.
That's the same thing people in Scottsboro are saying right now.
Yeah.
That's the same thing Scottsboro are saying right now. I mean, they're right now. I don't know. I could go on for days, and I'll just stop right there because I'll say something I shouldn't. But I've been telling him the whole time, you better not lose that North Jackson game. You're going to have to find a new house already. You better not lose that Fort Payne game. You're going to be out before the end of the year. But they've done a really good job, and obviously beating both of those teams. I think I heard somewhere the other day he's only the second head coach that's ever done that in their first year.
Yeah.
And if you ask him, it's just another day on the football field. But they do a really good job up there, and so me and him both. If they don't win state and we don't win our conference, I guess me and him will both be trying to find somewhere to go.
Well, ask Hannah Van. She'll probably tell you that she's the happiest coach's wife that's 2-0 right now in the state after getting through North Jackson and Fort Payne.
Happiest, maybe. Highest anxiety is more like it. She gets wound up during games. I like to text her right now while they're playing on Friday nights and give her a hard time but no, she's I know she's happy and she's proud of the things that he's doing down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've just been it was such an honor to do those 2 years with you and Coach Van on the Savannah Rand show. It was just, I mean, of all things, you two are as much a reason that RiverCity-Media exists today as anything, and I do appreciate that, Coach, and I will always be grateful for that. Coach, one other question, and Phil, I'm going to shoot back to you. As this program grows, and as you are there a few years, what is your vision for the program 5 years down the road?
I tell our players now, you are setting the tone for years to come in this program, and I think when you get athletes in, I don't see how anybody could ever not have a goal of a conference championship, making it to the national tournament, competing in that national tournament, and then eventually winning that national tournament. If your goal is anything short of that, I just don't see how you're in this, or maybe we're just wired a little different. So, in 5 years, I hope to be one of the teams that are, considered one of the best in the conference and competing for that conference title every single year.
I would expect it no less of you, Coach. I mean, I almost answered that for him, Phil, but I thought I'd give him a chance to answer it. Hey, Phil, the thing about it, and then is we have two what I consider local programs, and the choices the individual schools made and head coaches just gives me so much of a confidence that Northeast and Gadsden State's programs are in such good hands right now.
Yeah. Definitely. So I think you're exactly right. Well, Coach, I want to ask you this. I mean, I know you're coming in, you've got these young ladies coming in, and I know one of the big things that you are probably concentrating on doing, you want to challenge these young ladies, not only in the classroom, but also in practice time, also game time, and you want to challenge them off the field, because you've got to find out who's going to be there with you at the end, who's going to put forth the effort, who's going to go home, and who's going to stay with you.
Oh, there's no doubt. And we try to push them every day. And sometimes we get to the point where you kind of see, okay, they're going to put their foot down right now, and they're not doing that, screwing that up anymore, or, they're going to get this right, or they come to you and say, I don't understand, or I don't get it, or I can't do it. And if it's the answer is I can't do it, then, then this is probably not the place for you, but we've not had that this year. We've got a lot of girls that are, like I said, putting their foot down and saying, I'm going to get this right, and I'm going to do this. And they're working really hard and getting challenged every single day. As far as at practice, like I said, the very first day we put them on a machine, we put the machine at 63 to 64 miles an hour. A lot of the girls that were coming in hadn't seen that before. You got some smaller school players that may not have seen that before. So we challenge them, and I think they're getting better because of it. And at the same time, they challenge us every single day, and they make us better coaches because of the way that they work every single day.
Yeah, because I'm sure you learn a lot from them also, because a lot of these players are very good, and so no doubt about that.
Stuff I don't want to learn.
Yeah. And so sometimes they don't have to be coached; they just kind of have to be led just a little bit. Of course, that's what you want is a player driven team that, at the end of the day, because when, you don't have to get on to them, they take care of business on the field. Well, Coach, I know an important part of developing a program is team bonding. What are some of the things you do to try to bond this team? I know traveling, getting on that bus, staying in hotel rooms, and you want these young ladies to have a little adversity so that they lean on each other, and that's what road trips are for. What are some of the things you're going to do to build team bonding?
So we're gonna start a deal where we start having team dinners. We had one last week, kind of getting the stage set for this fall season. We're going to do things like that. We're going to take them different places, either whether it's on a road trip or just out of the blue, randomly take them somewhere and do something fun. One thing that we like to do is right now is our athletic director has done a really good job of trying to get all of our programs on the same page and pulling in the same direction. and he's doing a really good job with that. And we go as a team to watch other teams play, and so I think that in itself is not only building our team, it's also building our department up. And that's, to me, that's one thing you can look at. If we're out there and I need I've got a tough play ahead or a tough pitch. Let's just say we're playing, and you look up and the whole basketball team's up there yelling for you. It's really brought our department and our athletes together. But as far as our specific team bonding, we've not got too far into that just yet. Now they've bonded over some running and some things that they probably think Coach Russo and I are a little crazy. So they've bonded a little bit in that aspect, but the fun stuff still yet to come.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, administration wise, are they really behind this softball program?
Oh, no doubt. Our president actually, every time I see her, she checks in. How's the girls doing? When do we play? How's the stadium? She knows that obviously, but she comes in and we talk about the stadium. And from the president's office to our athletic director, Coach Lewis is also the head baseball coach, and he's done a really good job of making sure that we've got everything we need, and that we're where we're supposed to be at with our athletes, and so the support here is unreal.
Are you going to have I know Northeast does, are you going to have an indoor training facility?
We will have a covered hitting cage that's going to be shared from baseball and softball out behind our concession stand when it's built.
Well, that sounds good. Well, Coach, I want to ask you one more thing. I'll go back to Randy. What are the expectations going into the fall season and the exhibition season? What do you hope to accomplish over this fall?
So, like I've said several times, we've got a team full of freshmen. Same thing with Northeast. So we're trying to fill in some blanks and answer some question marks. And the real thing is to see how you compete with other teams. We know how you compete with each other because we're here every day. Seeing how you compete on the field and how you're working to get better. And, that to me, that's the biggest thing about fall. Scoreboard doesn't matter. Who cares what the score is, whether we win by 20 or get beat by 10, it doesn't matter. If we're getting better and we're learning from it, then, that's what the fall is all about.
Go ahead, Randy.
Coach Clark, one of the first things in that team bonding was maybe your lovely wife cooking some spaghetti for the girls. I saw that post too.
Yeah.
She's got to be part of this with you to be a coach's wife.
There's no doubt. And she's very supportive. And, a lot of times she'll ask a certain question about the team. And, so she knows, she gets to hear all the phone calls that me and Coach Russo have about certain players. She probably knows more about them than I think she knows. She's very excited about this opportunity, and she really enjoys doing stuff like we did the other night and have them over and, spend time with our family as well. Because like I tell everybody, once you become an athlete, you naturally become part of a family, whether you wanted to or not, you're part of it. I spend, probably as much time at Gadsden as I do at home, and it's close. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I am home more now than I was before, so that's also helped. And she's very excited about the opportunities and this team, and she really enjoyed the other night when the girls got to come over to the house.
In your family, you have a small one or two too, also that is around the program. What's that like for you?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
You have a full family. You have is it 2 children or 1?
2 now. Yeah, we got 2. So Ava and Brody. Brody was born this past summer. He's 2 months old now, so he's starting to keep his head up and get interested in everything going around. And Ava, we have to watch her. She's wide open all the time, and that was probably the main attraction at our house the other night was Ava. She was teaching them some new things, and she was just going crazy, and she's excited. She loves anytime any of those girls come around and plays with her, and so she's 3 right now, so she's in that fun stage. So she's a lot of fun.
She picked up about 25, 30 older sisters. It sounds like
she did. She did, and they did great with her, and she did great with them, and she kept them laughing the entire time, just about. So,
Coach, I got one more, but please, after the fall season, I'm feeling I would love to get you back on before the start of the spring season. Maybe we can do this again and just keep up to date with you. You emphasized your camps a couple of times in this interview. In the first interview, you really emphasized your camps. What's the camp process like at Gadsden State?
well, it depends. We've got a couple of different ways we do camps. One is a prospect camp. Pretty much you are coming to try out, which is a way that you can get in front of us as well as us seeing you just play. But the prospect camp's more like a tryout. We do more like a pro tryout type deal. You're taking exit velo, you're taking swings off the bat, and you're taking ground balls or fly balls, and you're pitching and catching whatever your specialty is. You're working on that during that camp, so we can evaluate you. So that's what a prospect camp's more of an evaluation to say, okay, does this one need to be on our prospect list? Is this one that's coming to us, what do we need to improve if she's at our prospect camp? And so you get that, and then you get more of a skills camp where we just kind of teach. The prospect camp, we're doing a lot of evaluating. We are hands-on during every camp that we have, but the skills camp, we are more in teach mode. And so that's kind of how you get, or what you get out of our skills camp. And then our other big camp that we do is the kid camp during the summer, and that's just a lot of fun. It's a smaller version of a skills camp, and the young players come in, they love it, and we have a lot of fun with it.
Can the players teach or coach in the skills camp?
We don't use hours to. They can if they're here on campus, and it's during school time and stuff like that. They can help you, but we typically don't try to use hours unless we get an outrageous number at camp, and then we've got to just have help. But so far we've kind of used just us, and if they're there, they're setting up equipment or something. They're not really participating in the camp.
Coach, when you expand to have a media session to your camp, you know who to call.
Oh yeah, anytime. Come on.
Bill, go ahead, close us out.
Yeah, well, Coach, and speaking of that, I have a communications degree, so I know how important communication is. When you sit down with a young lady, let's say you're in the living room, mom, dad's there, do you expect her to do most of the talking? Because I'm sure you're looking for young ladies that are independent.
Well, we do like them to communicate back with us. Sometimes you get that athlete that's just froze up because they're nervous, and this is their dream, and they want to play college ball, and they know why we're there talking to them. And so you get that, or you get some that will talk and have communication, and that helps us when we're leading into different aspects of what we like to talk about with our campus and our activities and our academics here. When they're having conversations back with us, it makes it a lot easier, and it flows very well. So we do like communication, and we do like when they talk back with us.
Yeah, definitely. Like when you're on Twitter and whatnot, you get on account with them and communicate back and forth, especially if they've got questions.
Right.
And, coaching, you were talking about, having, not having have your players in and, doing a lot of coaching. But if you've got a couple that are really intent on teaching or coaching at the college level, you will probably kind of open the door to maybe let them coach a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason we haven't had them is because they haven't been on campus.
Yes.
That's the reason we haven't been having them, do anything with our camps, is because they haven't been here. When we do our fall camps this fall and they're all here on campus, then we can, we'll use a few of them. And especially the ones like you're saying, if they have a future that they want to coach one day, or, even if they're going into education, it's good for them to be around a bunch of kids and a bunch of, whether it be, youth, or whether it be, high school kids. It's good for them to be around them and kind of get used to being around kids and talking to them.
Well, Coach, I one final thing. If I'm a high school softball player and I'm watching this podcast, sell me on Gadsden State. So
Gadsden offers a lot more than just softball. we have got a broad range of majors and certificates that we have here at Gadsden State. It's in a great location. Our stadium's going to sit on the river. We're getting all brand new stuff, and everything to every player this year is brand new, all the way head to toe. Everything they're going to be wearing in ball games is brand new. And, we like to say the least, we've probably spoiled our players that we've got now with buying stuff and making it special here. So we not only from the softball side of things, though, our campus has been either fully renovated in every building or is in process of being fully renovated. So it's actively growing here at Gadsden. So you come here and it's still a small college feel, but you still get the big college campus type. You walk across campus to your classes, and there's not a street in between every building on campus, and there's not just two buildings, and that's what you get a lot of times with junior college. So, but here, this is spread out enough that you can park and walk all across campus, or you can drive to every building if you wanted to, so it has that big college feel at the same time being a small college. And, we're really excited about all the things our president's doing here. And, with our program and with our school.
Go ahead, Randy.
Coach Clark, I just want to thank you for your time. And I know this is kind of bad timing, but it worked out. Fall season starts tomorrow. Is there anything you want to shout out to anybody or anything you would like that we didn't cover here that we need to?
No, you kind of covered the family deal, so you saved me on that one. So I didn't have to accidentally forget. So I appreciate that. I know you started doing that with Coach Van a few years back, so we didn't forget. So yeah. I always appreciate that. No, they're the family at home. They're really supportive and they're really excited about things going forward. So really a shout out to them for putting up with the softball life and just kind of going with it. And my wife's done a great job. Before we ever got married, I let her know. I said, "Hey, I'm going to coach." I mean, that's just part of it. I think she's done a great job of being a coach's wife, and she does a good job of holding everything down at home. And right now with two kids, I know it gets crazy at times, but she does a really good job. And and just as far as our conference wise, I think we've got a really good conference with some really good coaching in it from Coach Tracy over at Sneak. Sally Beth just got the job at Hansville. She worked at Jacksville over there when I was just sitting at the end of the dugout keeping stats. She was doing a lot more than I was, and she's had a really good career so far, and I can't wait to see what she does there. And, there's some really good coaches in this conference, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Appreciate it, Coach. Aiden Parham actually set the standard by telling Coach Coach Van, he was his favorite teacher. Same, he got 48 touches. So, always been our standard around here to shout out somebody and get 48 carries in a game.
Yes, Aiden knew how to play the game, but I don't think it would have mattered if he would have said he don't have a favorite teacher. That sucker was getting the football. I mean, it should still be. I got to watch him play, but I'm assuming them scoring 48 points. He touched it a few times the other night too. He's a great football player, and I don't think if he would have said Coach Van's the worst teacher I ever had, I think he still would have got the football.
Probably so. Yeah. Hey, Coach, I want to make one thing. Winning's important. Definitely is. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to win. But the most important thing is developing these young ladies as people, because you want them to be winners at the game of life.
No doubt. We tell them all the time, one day softball is going to end. Mm-hmm. One day. Whether it's in 2 years, whether it's in 1 year, whether it's in 4. Softball is going to end one day. What are you doing right now to prepare yourself for what's coming down the road? We want them to leave here and be better people than when they walked in this door. And, just from the challenges they receive from softball, I want them, when challenges hit them in the face, a few years past softball, for them to say, okay, if I can handle what we did that day at practice, I can handle this, So we try to get them prepared, and we want to be better people and develop an even better work ethic than they already have. And not only that, we want them to graduate at Gadsden. We don't want them to just play 2 years here and not end up with a degree because they were lazy in the classroom or whatever. So we stay on top of that. that's our main goal is you're graduating here at Gadsden, whether you move on or whether you don't. We got to get you graduated here and make sure your grades stay to where you can.
Phil, you mentioned it. For me, it's watching great young coaches like Coach Van move on to Scottsboro or Coach Clark move on to Gadsden. So it's a privilege for us to get to watch your career grow, Coach, and nothing but the best of wishes for the year. And anytime we can do anything for you, yell at us. We might take just a little pride in your success. Just a little there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I always enjoy being here, and I appreciate what you guys do for athletics, and especially in Alabama and Tennessee. I think you guys do a great job.
Appreciate it, Coach. Appreciate you taking the time. And again, always door open anytime you want us. Phil, you got anything else to say?
No, it's enjoyed talking with you, Coach. I know it's the first time we've actually talked face to face. We know of each other, but it's been a pleasure. I wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've got the face for WQSB, Phil. That's all. Coach Ryan Clark starts the season tomorrow up in Cleveland. I'm Randall Cunningham. He's Phil Harris. Good night. God bless.